How's it going, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of the Mavs Step Back Podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Trigg. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Drew Johnson. You can find us both on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Dalton_Trigg and at Coach Drew33. Today, we have a very special guest making a brief appearance here on Mavs Step Back. My guy, Drew, he is a new father as of 3 months ago. You guys remember us talking about that with Jelly Walker when we had him on, and they had their babies within like a day or so of each other. So that was pretty cool. But it's Zoe Johnson, and she's got her proper attire, wearing this dirt jersey. The dirt jersey.
If you're seeing this, I need a jersey autograph to your smallest fan.
Derrick, come through, Derrick.
Yeah. And I say this right as she throws up all over this. Wow.
A perfect intro. The introduction, the twirl around with the dirt onesie on, and then throw up all over it. Amazing.
Oh man, it doesn't get any better than that.
It really doesn't. I mean, hey, you're 3 months in now, though, so I mean, you're getting there. You're getting the hang of it, So.
Oh, yeah. We're pretty accustomed to all this by now.
All right, so the Dallas Mavericks, they are 3-0 for the first time since the 2004-2005 season. They did it with a road win over the Memphis Grizzlies, who haven't won a game yet. They're 0-4. They're struggling. They don't have Ja Morant because of his suspension. They don't have Steven Adams because of his season-ending knee surgery. And they didn't have Luke Kennard last night either. So they got the win. Even though the Grizzlies haven't won a game, it still wasn't going to be easy because those 3 losses that they had coming into last night were all by an average margin of 6 points. So, those games were close. And I figured it was going to be close for the Mavs too. And even when the Mavs finally got some separation in last night's game and went up 17 points in the fourth quarter, I knew it was going to find its way into being a clutch game, even though they were up by so much. And sure enough, they did. They let the Grizzlies get it down to 4, I believe it was, with a little, just a few seconds under 5 minutes. So it was technically a clutch game. They found a way to make it a clutch game. But, last year's team would have folded, and they would have possibly lost that game last night. But there's a lot more stability this year. There's more talent to get them across the finish line, and they didn't fold. And they ended up building the lead back up to 15, and that's what the final score they won by, 125-110. So big win. The vibes are nice right now for the Mavs. Luka is on an historic pace. He had another 30-point triple-double, his second in 3 games, which has only been done in NBA history. There have been 3 players start out a season with 2 triple-doubles in the first 3 games, and it's Luka Doncic, Russell Westbrook, and Oscar Robertson. So he is among elite company there. And he's shooting really well. He's shooting like 50% from 3. Some of those 3, I don't know if some of those threes last night. I saw Tim Cato with The Athletic. He tweeted about some of the threes that Luka was shooting reminded him of 2007 LeBron James. It's just chucking up everything. It's like, this is going to go in no matter what you do. So that's the kind of vibe you're getting from Luka right now. You have Derrick Jones Jr. stepping in with Kyrie Irving injured, which, he was starting before Kyrie got injured. But as far as like a role perspective, he stepped in and had a 22-point performance and shot 4 of 6 from 3 after looking pretty rough offensively in the first few games. So that was huge. He's looking like a value signing for the Mavs. You had Derek Lively getting another start, and he was limited due to foul trouble. And, Jaren Jackson Jr. does the same thing with the Grizzlies. It's kind of like the Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man meme. So that was kind of what was going on with those two last night, even though Jaren Jackson ended up having a pretty good stat line. So a lot of things to be excited about if you're the Mavs. I mean, not only are they 3-0, like it's not a perfect 3-0. It's like they did it while having some shortcomings, especially on the defensive end. But they fought through it. They found a way to get here undefeated. And, even though they have stuff to work on, it's good that they can win while having those shortcomings. So I'm excited about it. What are your initial takeaways from that Mavs Grizzlies game last night?
Well, what really stands out most to me is the fact that we have so much more depth on this team than we did last year, that we're able to keep Luka as well as other starters more fresh throughout the game. And I really think that's why you're seeing this jump in efficiency. Now I know that Luka's hitting crazy shots, like you were saying, they were comparing those shots to what LeBron was taking back in 07, fading out of bounds, stuff like that. When you got it, you got it. When you're hot, you're hot. That's just how it is. But the reason that he's able to do things like this is because he's more fresh down the stretch. And, I know that they've established this rotation pattern to mitigate his thigh injury. But I would almost say let's stick with it, because the pieces are all playing very well. Derrick Jones Jr., I have to admit, I was wrong, Dalton. I was very wrong. I thought he was
too.
I thought he was just an athlete. I thought he was a really good end-to-end guy, could probably bring some things defensively, but he's shown that he's a lot more. At least he did last night. So, if he can just stay consistent with that, you're right, he's a tremendous signing. There's a lot to be excited about. And, it's not that we're just playing out of our minds right now. We're making mistakes out there, but we're able to play through it, and we're able to not fold. So, kudos to these guys. I'm really excited for this year.
Oh yeah. And I mean, look, Luka mentioned it last night. He was asked about how he was not falling over after some of those threes he was taking, and he just said, "Look, it's pretty simple. I'm in better shape this year than I was, last year. Usually when he starts the season, it takes him a little bit to get back into it, and then throughout the season, sometimes if he gets injured, that takes him off his trajectory a little bit, and then he has to get back into it. That doesn't seem to be the case. Like, he's already in MVP form. Like, he is just dominating, and you can see it. I was having, due to my location, I can't watch the Mavs broadcast when they play the Grizzlies because of blackout restrictions. So I had to watch the stream on our watch parties. And by the way, guys, we're partnered with Playback, and we do watch parties for every single game. So if you, instead of just watching the game, by yourself at home, if you want to join us for the watch parties, there's a chat room, and, sometimes we'll have people up on stage talking throughout a game. Really cool thing. I have it pinned on my Twitter page. So go check that out. It's completely free to sign up for, and you can join our next one on Wednesday when the Mavs play the Bulls. But anyway, so I was having to watch the Memphis Grizzlies broadcast, and even they were saying, like, this is the best shape I've seen Luka in throughout his career. And Grizzlies announcer, I don't know if you've ever listened to their broadcast, but they're pretty biased. I mean, they're not very objective about anything, and they tend to take, shots, and they think that they deserve every foul call and all that kind of stuff. So to hear them say something like that, and to hear them just compliment Luka throughout the night the way they did, I mean, that should really, tell you something about where he's at. And if the Mavs are going to keep doing this, I think he's definitely going to win MVP this year. Now, he's still got Jokic to compete with, but you have such a thing called voter fatigue. So if it gets to that point, and the Mavs and the Nuggets have similar records, and Luka's numbers are near 30-point triple-double like what they are now, it's really 40-point triple-double right now. So if it's something like that, I think Luka's going to get the nod this year. But obviously that's not what he's, worried about. He wants the Mavs to be a championship contender like we all do. And again, it's just so encouraging that this team hasn't been perfect. The defense through the first two games was spotty at best. It seems like the Mavs' biggest issue is defense in the first quarter because, we saw it in the season opener. They gave up 43 points to the San Antonio Spurs. Last night, after having a decent first quarter, they kind of imploded at the end of it, and they ended up being down, I think it was 6 at the end of the first quarter, and they gave up like 38 points to the Grizzlies. So, but then after that, they held them under 25 points in every quarter after that. So it's good to see those adjustments being made. It's good to see that they have the ability to be a decent defensive team. They just have to do it from the very beginning of the game, to make it worth something. And given that probably has something to do with Derrick Lively's, I'm not going to say his minutes, because in the first game, I did think, he should have started, and that did have something to do with the Mavs giving up that many points. This time last night in Memphis, it had to do with him being in foul trouble because he got 2 quick fouls. He had to hit the bench, and then he came back in. He had another 2 quick fouls. He had 4 fouls by halftime. So that's pretty rough. But, he's going to – the more he gets his feet wet, and, I mentioned it on Twitter last night too, this guy is already so good. His instincts are crazy good. He just knows the game of basketball, and I just can't wait to see how he's going to do after he has a few years under his belt in an NBA weight room, when he puts on a little bit more weight. And he already did that a little bit from summer league until now, but once he really gets that established, he's going to be pretty much unstoppable. So I'm really, despite him having a rough night because of the foul trouble, I'm still super encouraged by him. We saw some life out of Maxey last night. He hit a couple of big shots, and he had a pick and roll with Luka where he finished the alley-oop from Luka, which I wasn't expecting. I thought we were past those Kleba days, so that was good to see. But yeah, it was great. And like you said, Derrick Jones Jr., a 1-year veteran minimum contract, steal. If he's gonna do stuff like that, 100% steal. And shout out to the Mavs for beating out the Miami Heat for Derrick Jones Jr.'s services over the summer. So a lot of good things to take away from that game. Grant Williams, he was great. He shot really well from 3. We've talked about it before. He does all the little things defensively that we haven't had with the Mavs since that Kyrie trade last year that sent Dorian Finney-Smith to the Nets. So he brings all those little things to the table, and he's bigger. Like, Finney-Smith, how can I say this nicely? Grant Williams has more, how can I say it? He's just a bigger dude than Dorian Finney-Smith.
He's more muscled up, and that's just the way he's built. But that allows him to be more versatile on the defensive end. And, we always describe Dorian Finney-Smith as a Swiss Army knife. But I think Grant Williams is even more so because he is literally able to guard post players along with wing players. So he's extremely valuable in that regard. He's a good playmaker. He's a good jump shooter. And, he's not going to give you anything flashy, but he's going to give you what wins. So, I've been harping on getting him for a while. Like in the offseason, I was very happy whenever we picked him up. So he's just doing what Grant Williams does, and that just contributes to winning basketball.
It's crazy because, Luka started out last season on a similar tear, what he started out this year, but the Mavs record did not reflect that. They were a 500 team for the majority of last season until, later in the year. And that's the biggest thing. You got to have winning players around him to make it a little bit easy. There was one point last night where Luka went to the bench and, the lead was already starting to dwindle a little bit. And you thought, oh, well, this might not be good with Luka going to the bench. And then next thing you know, the Mavs are up like 11 or 12 points going into the fourth quarter. With Luka, he was on the bench getting a rest. And it's like, okay, that's pretty that's something we're not used to over the last few years. And it's a handful of guys, not only Derrick Jones Jr. or Grant Williams, but you also have Dante Exum, who has shown some really good stuff, especially in transition. That guy is a blur in transition. He's provided a boost defensively and offensively. You've got Seth Curry, who is really yet to get going up to his standards as far as his shooting and everything, but he's another playmaker and another shooter you add into the mix there. Omax Prosper, he hasn't even played yet, because all these clutch. That's another thing too. Technically, all three of these games have been clutch games. Mavs were tied with the Jazz for the most clutch losses last year with 29. They had a league high 55 clutch games, so they were 26 and 29 in those games. So to start out this season 3-0 in that category is awesome. And they've scored at least 125 points in each of these games to start, and it seemed pretty effortless. Luka, he's putting up gaudy numbers, but it's not like he's overexerting himself. This is easy buckets for him. In the last game, when they won against the Brooklyn Nets, he had a career high 9 3-pointers, and then he followed it up by shooting 6 of 12 in this game against Memphis. So he can't miss right now, and it's effortless. It's not like he's down there getting banged up every game and having to work super hard for this. This is sustainable for Luka if he's going to shoot this hot from 3. And I'm so excited to see where it carries us, throughout the next few weeks. And I did a solo pod on my last one, so you didn't hear this prediction that I made, but you can go look at the schedule and make your own assessment of it. I look at the schedule throughout these first 10 games, and I can see a realistic path to the Mavs being 9-1 by the time this first 10-game stretch is over. Now, they got the Bulls. The Bulls are very beatable. Now, they're a high-octane offense, and they're going to be tough, but it's a game against the Bulls at home next. And then the only game that I'm personally penciling in as a loss is after the Bulls game. The Mavs fly to Denver and take on the Nuggets at Denver with the high altitude, which is always a tough matchup. So we'll have to see what goes on with Kyrie Irving for that one too. But, I look at the schedule and I see a very realistic path to 9-1 to start the season. And given that the Mavs were only up in the win, the biggest margin they had last year above 500 was 6 games. And that happened one time. I think it was before the Kyrie Irving trade. And it never happened for the rest of the season. So if they're 9-1 after 10 games to start this year, I'm going to start being a little delusional and start. I'm going to join Shaq in the predicting the Mavs to win it all stuff if we're 9-1 after 10 games. But what do you think about this upcoming stretch?
I think it's very doable. I'm with you. I think that the game at Denver is going to be a very difficult one. Not only is Denver really, really good and really, really talented, but you have the high altitude issue, and that takes some time to adjust to. They could gut that out, because here's another reality: Kyrie Irving hasn't really gotten going yet, and he could potentially go for 40 any night. We're winning, and we're not even playing our best basketball yet on either end of the floor yet. So it's very encouraging, and I see improvements I haven't really been able to watch any games yet, but I see improvements in every, stat sheet that I look at, and in every, excuse me, in every highlight reel that I look at. So, I've been very pleased by what I've seen so far.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm always, I understand with you being a coach and with you being a father for the last 3 months and everything. Every time I get something, anything from Mavs PR, like last night, Grizzlies PR sent our guy Grant Afseth a sheet that had all that stuff on there, and I'm just like, you know what? I understand you're not going to be, it's just human nature. You're not going to be able to stay up until 11 o'clock, midnight, watching all these games. So we compensate for it. I'll send you all the PR notes and everything, and you watch some tape, and it works. I mean, as long as you see it, that's all that matters. But look, this upcoming stretch, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous about this Bulls game at home because the Mavs, they're feeling themselves a little bit now. I mean, they understand that they still have a lot of areas they can improve, but they are feeling themselves a little bit, and you have to wonder if they're gonna let you have to wonder if they're gonna have a letdown, here pretty soon, which wouldn't be the end of the world. I mean, it's a good start no matter what, but I mean, I don't know. I just want to see them have the same attitude going into this next game and just show no mercy. Like, just keep running people off the floor with your offense, keep improving. Because that's the thing, the offense could even get better than what it's already been, and they're already averaging 125 points a game. And they've improved their defense in that last game from what it was in the first two games. So, keep it going. And, we'll just have to see if they're able to get that win and go to 4-0. And if they do, and man, if they go 4-0 and then go into Denver that next game and beat the Nuggets, I'm telling you, I'm going to be delusional, DJ. I'm going to be saying some stuff on this podcast that I might regret later in the year, but it's going to happen. I'm
what can we possibly go from here? I mean,
I'm telling you, I'm going to be saying stuff that people are going to be clipping from this podcast and posting on social media saying this dude is crazy. And I'm going to get flamed later in the year if I'm not right about it. But I'm to the point to where I'm going super optimistic Dalton, the super, and I'm always generally optimistic, but people haven't seen super optimistic Dalton in a few years. But he's coming.
Yep.
He's he's right around the corner. And it's coming if the Mavs start out 5-0 with a win over the Denver Nuggets. I'm just telling you. I'm warning everybody ahead of time. So, don't shoot the messenger, even though I am the messenger and the person sending the message about. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway. So, anyway, long story short. Was that?
Don't hate.
Yeah, don't hate. Don't hate. Embrace the optimism. Embrace the good vibes. Yeah. It's good times right now. And, we'll see if the Mavs can keep it up. Love the pace, by the way. We didn't talk about it too much, but the pace has increased dramatically. And shout out to Luka for, accepting that he needed to pick up the pace because he doesn't like to play fast all the time, but he has embraced it. And, he even said last night, talking about Derrick Jones Jr.'s performance, because he had a couple of spray out passes, 3/4 length of the court to get easy baskets. And he said it. He's like, if you run, I'm going to reward you. And that's what he's done so far. And it's increased the pace. It keeps the defense on their heels all night long. And so far, nobody has been able to stop the Mavs because of that. So that's huge. Luka in great shape, hitting his threes and running the floor. It makes the Mavs look almost unbeatable. So we'll see if the defense can pick up. But guys, appreciate y'all joining us for another episode of Mavs Step Back Podcast. Be sure to go like, rate, and subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Love you guys. Y'all have ran us up there. We just eclipsed the 11.5 thousand subscriber mark the other day. So that's awesome. At the rate it's going, I'm wondering if we can get close to 20,000 by the end of the season. So that would be incredible. So guys, I appreciate all of y'all. Be sure to go to DallasBasketball.com to check out all of our game coverage. Have tons of stuff from the game already up after last night. And there's more stuff coming throughout the day. And go Texas Rangers. They won Game 3 of the World Series last night, 3-1. It was a pretty exciting game. And Game 4 is tonight. So we'll see if they can close it out in Arizona. If it goes back to Texas, hopefully Derrick and Luka won't attend the game because the 2 games they've attended throughout this postseason or the last 2 rounds, the Rangers have just gotten their butt kicked. So,
fun fact: the Rangers are, I believe, 9-0 in the postseason. I think I saw that on SportsCenter this morning. So
no, they were 9-0, not counting. No, they're not 9-0. They're because they lost game 2. They're 9-0 on the road.
Yeah, that's what it is. 9-0.
Yeah. Okay, I was thinking like that don't sound right, but yes, they are 9-0 on the road, which is absolutely crazy,
insane.
They look like the 2011 Mavs.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we appreciate it. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Zoe says bye as well. We will see y'all next time.
We just pooped ourselves, so we're not happy.
We'll see y'all.
Bye-bye.